types of groups are there that families can even look at? And I don't know. You just can elaborate. You can do a list, or however you'd like to present that.
Well, everybody has a different way of like classifying them. For me, I like to classify them into some different terminology that I like to use, what we call support groups. I feel like support groups are the kinds of groups that exist really to help the parents.
Yeah.
That their job is things like Homeschool 101, answer people's questions about how do I homeschool math, how do I handle my child who has a problem. They do things like Mom's Night Out. They will also do things like field trips, arrange field trips for your family. But it's like their main purpose, I feel like, is to help the parent, not necessarily the student. I mean, they do things that benefit a student, but their main purpose is to help the parents. And I feel that those are what we would call support groups.
Yeah, I agree.
Then there's the whole gamut of support groups. There are support groups who basically are just Facebook groups where you could just ask a question, all the way to groups that have something every week, that they have a lot going on.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so that there's a whole gamut there. And then there are what I call academic. So a lot of people like to call them co-ops, but I really think co-op actually more means where parents are cooperatively working together. So that's one type of academic program, but then there are other types of academic programs where people drop off their children, almost like a school, and leave, and professionals work with your children while you're there. They're all, I call all of those under the spectrum of academic programs. And again, it's all nice, the whole spectrum.
It's nice you point out, though, that there is a spectrum of them, because I think people just have this general idea of, well, this is what, a co-op or, a drop-off program is to look like, and that's not true.
No. And some are a little bit of both. There are ones that actually, it's funny how you can have ones where some parents stay, some parents go, some parents teach, some parents drop off. Right. There really is a whole gamut of things that you can have. And it can range, just be something as simple as two families who meet in one of their homes or trade off homes, and you teach art and I'll teach math. Right. That's an academic co-op. That's a cooperative. We're working cooperatively together, all the way to these kinds of programs that some of them are even called hybrid schools, where they're not technically classified a private school, but if you looked at it, you would think that's a private school. That's not a homeschool cooperative. So there's like the whole range there. But I call them all academic programs. I like to use that name. And here's the difference between a support group: is an academic program focuses on the student.
Okay. Yes.
So the whole purpose of it is to help the student, to provide courses and materials and program and information for the student. I mean, it helps the parent because the parent wants help in that particular area, but their focus is on the student.
Yes.
And then there's another type of group, and I like to classify these under clubs. These are groups that are arranged around a specific, very narrow purpose, like a sports program. A lot of states have homeschool sports programs. Some people do things like chess club, speech and debate clubs for homeschoolers. Robotic leagues. A lot of homeschoolers do robotic leagues. There are Boy Scout programs that are specifically only homeschool students, so that would fall under that category because it's designed specifically for homeschoolers. And I like to classify those under what I would call clubs.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. But again, that's the other thing that's really interesting about the homeschool community is a lot of groups are actually a little bit of all these things. They can be a support group and an academic, or they can be partly a support group and a club, or they're a club and an academic program. There's really no boundaries here because these are all independently run programs that homeschoolers themselves start for their own purposes. They could be anything.
Right. That's a very good point. And think that's good to point out, especially if for a parent who's gone to maybe visit one group and saying, oh, this is not for us, that there are other groups that
Yes.
do exist, and it's finding that right fit for
Yes.
your family. And so there, yeah, I think there's very few groups that even look or feel the same as each other, because they become like an extension of the families that participate in them, of
Yes.
course, and so that makes a huge difference. So yeah, I love that. I've never heard it classified that way. I think it's very helpful though, and also that there's a spectrum within each one of those categories
Yes.
that families should be aware of. So that's great information.